Yes, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. How are you all? My name is Yogesh and we are doing statistics standard 11. We are doing chapter number 1, that is collection of data. In last lecture we have seen the method of questionnaire. I have explained you what is the method of questionnaire, what are the advantages, what are the disadvantages, how this questionnaire looks. Today we are going to talk about the methods of the questionnaire. Questionnaire is a list of questions that you are preparing to for a purpose of some survey, to collect some data, to collect some information. Now, as you have prepared the questionnaire, as I told you that questionnaire is a list of questions. Now you have prepared the list of questions. How will you go and collect the data? Okay, you are having a list of questions, but you should go and get the information, or you should send that questionnaire to the person. So what are the methods to collect the data by questionnaire that we are going to study today? So number one method is questionnaire by post. By title you can see that what we'll do, we'll send the questionnaire by post to the respondents or to the people, and what they'll do, they'll write the answer and send us the question paper, or you can say send us the questionnaire back. So meaning, after preparing an ideal questionnaire, it is dispatched by post to the respondents, from whom the information to be collected along with the request to complete and return it in a given. So what we'll do, if I want to collect information from Rajkot, you can say, what I'll do, I'll prepare a questionnaire. I'll send it to the people of Rajkot. Whatever area I might select, I'll send to the person which are belonging to that area. I'll send it through post, and I'll request them to complete the questionnaire, to fill the questionnaire, and send me back in due time. Therefore, it is necessary to send a blank envelope along with the questionnaire to all the respondents. So, what we'll do, when we'll send them an questionnaire, we'll send a blank envelope also. Why blank envelope, sir? Because when they'll fill the questionnaire, they'll not have need to buy the envelope. There will be a blank envelope which will be given by us. They'll fill the questionnaire, put in that blank envelope, and we post to us. Therefore we'll keep the blank envelope in it, along with the question to all respondents, bearing the address of investigator and a proper postal stamp. So in that blank envelope we'll affix our address and a proper postal stamp. That means the respondents have to do nothing. They just have to fill the answer and put it in that envelope, and that envelope will reach to us, as we will put in our address, postal stamp, proper, everything done. Since the answers to the question are given by the respondent themselves, it is essential that questions are clear. Now you are sending them by post. That means you are not going personally. The person who are getting your question will have to answer by himself. Now, if he doesn't understand the question, or if he is not able to interpret the question correctly, then there will be some problem. So, how your question should be? You have to draft the question in such a way that your question should be clear, short, simple, relevant, and self-explanatory. Means your question should not be in any difficult language. It should be clear. Okay, it should not be so lengthy that it is difficult to understand. Nowadays, questionnaire may be sent through email and mobile phone also. Okay, so nowadays you can see the emails regarding the surveys, mobile phones also. Okay, when you open this YouTube, you are seeing the video by YouTube. Then YouTube also sometimes ask you a survey. Okay, when you open any video, it asks you survey before playing that video. So this kind of survey can be taken from many platforms. It can be platform, email, mobile, whatever platform. Now advantages. What are the advantages of the questionnaire by post? This method of collecting data is quite useful when the field of investigation is very vast. This method is simple and it provides large amount of information with less expense. By this method, investigator can get information from respondents of those areas where it might difficult to reach personally or by telephone. So what are the advantages of this method, that is questionnaire by post? You can say if your area is very large, then also you can complete this process in very less cost. Okay, because what is your cost? You don't have to send any person or any employee. Just you have to post the envelopes. So it can cover the large area in very short time. And you can get information from those areas also which are very difficult to reach by telephone, or you can say which are very difficult to reach personally. Then decide, when respondents are illiterate or non-cooperative, this method become useless. Now you are sending and requesting to the person by post. So what happens, that the particular person, say for example, if that person is illiterate and is not able to read and write, so that is useless for him or her. If that person is non-cooperative, that means if he is seeing your envelope and not replying you, then also this method becomes. Sometimes information provided by respondent may not be correct, or they may return incomplete or blank questionnaire to the investigator. What the respondents do, that if they do not find the correct information, or if they find some error, then they'll just send the blank envelope. They'll not fulfill all the questions and send it to you. Okay, or they'll write answer without any kind of, you can say, proper manner, or they give wrong information. Many things happen if you go to the detail. So this caused the errors. There may be loss of questionnaire or delay in getting the information because of the laziness of the respondents. There may be loss of questionnaire. It is not necessary that you receive all the questionnaires. Say for example, if you post 100 questionnaires, it can be like 20-30 questionnaires did not respond to you, or you can say delay in getting information. You have requested in questionnaire that you want this particular thing by, say for example, 30th. You will find after the 30th also many questionnaires come. So this will cause a bit management system error. There is a lack of assistant or a person who clarifies the instruction. Now in this method there is no person facing there. So whatever is written, whatever he understands is right. This create bit confusion. Hence, there is a possibility of misinterpretation of the question. So it can happen that question is misinterpreted. Okay. Then there is a method of questionnaire by enumerator. Now, what is this method? Method of questionnaire by enumerator. In this method, enumerator themselves contact the respondents and get response to the questions. Now see, you have prepared the questionnaire. The list of questions is ready. You will not send by post. What you will do? You will send your person. That person will take the questionnaire and will go to the respondents. And what he'll ask that I have some list of questions. Please help me to. And who will fill the questionnaire? Enumerator himself fills the question. In questionnaire by post, what happens? That the respondent is filling the question. Here, the enumerator will fill the question. Respondent just has to answer the question. Thus, the difference between earlier method and this method is that questionnaire is sent to the respondent by post, whereas in this method, enumerators carry the question. There is no such things like post here. Enumerator will go. So the person has not to write, has not to read. Enumerator will narrate to him what are the questions, and he does not have to post also. Okay, because the enumerator is going, he is writing. And personally method. Here the enumerator should be enthusiastic. Now here the major role is of that enumerator. If you want good work, then your enumerator should be enthusiastic. He should be polite, honest, and efficient in their work, so that they can extract the correct answer to the question by providing relevant and supplementary information to the rest. The enumerator are also instructed to create friendly atmosphere without entering into any controversy. Now, when you are sending an enumerator, you will give some instruction. What are the instructions? The enumerator are instructed to create friendly atmosphere without creating any controversy or showing any disrespect toward the respondent. So the thing is, your enumerator should be polite in the nature, so that this kind of chaos is avoided. Now the advantages of the questionnaire by enumerator. See, when we are studying this kind of theory, it becomes a bit boring because these kind of things are very less near to you. You haven't seen this kind of surveys or you don't understand this kind of things. So it is a bit difficult and bit new to you. And as it is theory, so you will feel sleepy or some kind of things. So what to do? You should pause the video. After 2 or 3 or 5 minutes break, you can come back so that you will feel fresh enough. Okay. Now advantages of this method, that is method questionnaire by enumerator. What are the advantages? The complete, correct and more relevant information can be obtained from the respondent by selecting proper enumerator. So if you are selecting the proper enumerators, you will get complete, correct and relevant information. Okay. Here, enumerator can get proper information by giving proper explanation to the respondent who are illiterate or non-cooperative. Now, there was a disadvantage in questionnaire by post, that if the persons are illiterate and non-cooperative, this method is useless. Now, here you are not posting anything. An enumerator on behalf of you is visiting the village or premises where the survey is conducted. So what he'll do, he'll get the proper information even if the person is illiterate, because the person has not to write or read anything. This person has to listen him and reply. Okay, if the person is bit non-cooperative, then also if a enumerator will go and ask about that, are you interested in survey, then they'll cooperate with them. In this method, there is no problem of loss of question or incomplete answer to the question. You are not sending by post, so you will get maximum number of questionnaire filled. The information obtained is more reliable. If you rely on the post, then it can happen that information is not reliable. But when a person goes and collect the information, it is obviously reliable. Then disadvantage. Now, what are the disadvantages? Sometimes it is quite difficult to get expert enumerators with a sufficient number. Now, see, this questionnaire by enumerator depends solely on the enumerator. If your enumerator is very good, honest, then your inquiry will be very fine. If he is not honest, he is not good, he is not cooperative, he is lazy, then your inquiry will get some same effects like that. So, what are the disadvantages? That it is very difficult to get expert enumerators and sufficient. Due to large number of enumerators, the remuneration paid increases the total cost of inquiry. Uh, if you ask for number of more enumerators, more cost. So more cost will increase the cost of. So the meaning is that it goes out of the budget. Then third, it is very difficult task to train the untrained enumerator for the inquiry. Suppose the person you are sending is not trained. Now one more task is added, that you have to train that enumerator first. Then that enumerator will go to the area which is granted to him and collect the information. Even after training, it is not proper to believe that they will work skillfully, honestly, or efficiently. Now you have trained him for a while. What is the guarantee that he will do the good work? It is not necessary. Hence, sometimes the information collected by them is not reliable. So sometimes it happens that the information collected that by them is not reliable. This method becomes unsuitable when the respondent are spread over a wide area. In this circumstance, the cost and time of inquiry increases. When you have to survey in a very large portion of area, then you need more number of enumerators, you need more time, so the cost will increase and the time will obviously. Enumerator have to adjust with the convenient time of respondent, or sometime enumerator have to visit 2 or 3 times to the respondent. Now what happens that you are sending the person, sometime the respondents are not at home, respondents are doing some urgent work, or they are telling that please come days after. So what happens, the time is delayed. Sometimes 2 or 3 times enumerator has to visit the place, the same place. As a result, it becomes difficult to finish the inquiry within the. Among the three methods of collecting primary data, there is no definite rule to use a particular method. What three methods we have done till now? Direct inquiry, indirect inquiry, and method of questioning. The selection of inquiry. So they are telling that there is no rule for using a particular method. The selection of inquiry mainly depends on the following aspects. Spread of the area under inquiry. Spread of the area, that means what is the area in which the survey is conducted. I mean, you want to survey, you want to conduct the survey in particular society, in a particular district, particular state. What is the spread of the area? What is the purpose of inquiry? The monetary provision. What is the budget to conduct the survey? Time frame, within how many time you have to complete the survey? Possibility of getting expert enumerators. If you consider the enumerator parts, then is it possible or not? And the standard of accuracy. What accurate data you want? If you want very accurate data, then that kind of method is selected. Okay. Now we are coming to the topic of the secondary data. Till now, what we were doing the primary data. Now we are doing the secondary data. There are two main sources of the secondary data. You remember what is secondary data? As I told you that in primary data, you or your persons go and collect the data. In secondary data, the data is already ready. What you have to do, just you have to ask the person who has collected the data, and the data is with you. Okay. There are two main sources of secondary data: published data and unpublished data. Let us see what is published data. So secondary data can be from the two sources, that is published and unpublished. What are the published source? Number one is government publication. That means government is collecting the data, and they are publishing in their magazines. So for government, it is primary data. But if you want that data, and if you collect the data from that magazine, if you see the data from magazine, that means for you it is a secondary data. Okay, so you can get the data from the government publication. There are a number of central and state government organizations which collect the statistical data and publish their findings in the interest of public. So there are many organizations. It can be central, it can be state. What they collect the statistical data. Some government publishers provide data on the periodical and regular basis. There are many publications which are monthly, so you can say yearly, or on fixed time interval. For example, Central Statistical Organization, that is CSO, National Sample Survey Organization, that is NSSO, Office of the Registrar General and Census Commissioner of India, Indian Council Agriculture Research (ICAR), Statistical Abstract of the Gujarat State, Statistical outline: Gujarat State Socio-Economic Review, Gujarat State Exam. From the published data of such government bodies about the wholesale price index numbers, import export, vital statistics, agriculture statistic, result of census can be. From this source, what kind of data is obtained? They have told you that data like wholesale price index number, data like what are the import and export prevailing in India, vital statistics, agriculture statistics, data related to agriculture. Then a result of population census. So if you read this kind of magazine, you will get the data. Then semi-government publications. Semi-government organizations like LIC, state electricity boards, regularly publish the various type of important data. Then you can get data from the international publications, international organization like UNO, International Monetary Fund, International Labour Organization. These kind of data, this kind of organizations also publish the magazine. Then reports of the research organizations. Research institutes like Ahmedabad Textile Industries Research Institute, that is ATIRA, Physical Research Laboratory PRL, Ahmedabad Salt Marine and Research Laboratory, comma. This is Salt and Marine Research Laboratory, Bhavnagar. So you might have seen this Salt and Marine Research Laboratory in Bhavnagar. That is Central Salt we call as, okay, in Waghavadi Road. Institute of Economic Growth, Delhi, National Council of Applied, New Delhi provides the data in their publication. So there are publications of these organizations. You can get the data from there, that also. Then local self-government institution, autonomous education institution, municipal corporation, Jilla Panchayat publish their annual. Publication of Business and Commerce Organization. Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry published the journal Economic Trends. Institute of Chartered Accountants. The Chartered Accountant. Institute of Foreign Trade publishes the journal Foreign Trade Review. So these kind of journal publications are issuing journal on monthly or some periodic basis. You can get the data from these kind of journals. Newspaper and periodicals, the data regarding economics, commerce, business, sports can be collected from different newspaper and periodicals. Okay, these are important sources. These 7 points we have completed from the published source. Now there are some unpublished sources. So some of the statistical data may not be published. Some data may be drawn on the request from the unpublished internal records of private and public organizations which are prepared for the reference. For example, salary of the employee, length of the service. Now what are these data? These data are generated for my own purpose. Say for example, I am teaching in a school and I want the data that what are the average marks of the student in 10th standard. Okay, this data is for me. So this is unpublished source. The data regarding investment of mutual fund in public in private sector PhD of this various. Now what are the precautions while using the secondary data? See, you are not collecting the data. So the data is already ready made. So what kind of precautions which you should use while collecting the data from the secondary sources? A careful scrutiny must be done before using the secondary data. The reason is that data may be erroneous of inadequate sample size. See, you are relying on some other person because you have not collected the data, but someone has given you the data. Okay, it means someone is telling you that this is the actual situation in school. Okay, so you are not going to the school and visiting the actual situation. You are relying on some other person. So you have to see on whom you are relying. May not be suitable with the purpose. Such secondary data may not be useful for statistical analysis, drawing conclusion and inference from the analysis. Therefore, before using such data, following precautions should be taken. Number one, before using the secondary data, it should be verified as to who has the collected data from where the data is collected. When you are relying on some other source, you should know what is the source and from where that source is collecting the data. Am I clear? The data obtained from the record of private organization may be less reliable, as private organization collect the data according to their own ideology and prejudice. When we see that government has issued some information, then we directly rely. Why? Because government had taken good steps to collect the data. The purpose of collecting data must be relevant to the purpose of study, otherwise the data will be of no use. uh, the main thing is that why you have collected the data. Okay, that why you have collected data matches the preference, and your data will be of the same use. The collected data must not be too old, it should be relevant with the current time period. For example, price of grain, gold, petrol. If you want to find price of petrol, then the recent price is relevant. Obviously the old price is not relevant at all. Now, before using the secondary data, the matter regarding the scope of data, region for which data are collected, definitions should be. Direct use of estimated data should be avoided. The estimate given the data may be wrongly. So if you are using the data, then estimation should be avoided. The method of collection should be known so that investigators become familiar with its advantages and disadvantages. So you should know that from where your data is collecting, what the method is used in the secondary data. To get the proper benefits of secondary data, it should be used with the above. Okay. So we are completing this chapter. There is summary of this chapter. We can go through very fast. The data is set of observation expressed in quantitative, qualitative. Data can be obtained through primary or secondary source. When data is collected by investigator himself, it is known as a primary data. When data is collected by others and used by investigator, it is known as a secondary data. The most important form of collecting primary data is questionnaire method. A questionnaire refers to a tool used to get answer of the question. Okay, great. So now what you have to do, you have to solve all this section A, section B, section C, section D, section E by your own. You have to find the answers from this particular book or page number. If you find any problem to search the answer, that means if you are not getting some answer or if you are getting some communication, then you can write in the comment. You can ask me personally what is the answer, I'll give you. So you have to search the questions answers from the textbook. That is why we have done all textbook line by line. So we are completing the chapter 1 here. We are concluding the chapter 1, that is collection of data. My next chapter is going to be chapter number 2, presentation of data. Thank you.